What If You Had T-Rex Teeth and Other Dinosaur Parts by Sandra Markle and Howard McWilliam. What If You Had T-Rex Teeth and Other Dinosaur Parts? Author Sandra Markle, illustrator Howard McWilliam. What if one day when you woke up you felt a little bit strange? Then you discovered one part of your body was now very different. What if overnight a dinosaur's body part had taken its place? What if you had T-Rex teeth? Tyrannosaurus rex was a meat-eating dinosaur with a mouthful of around 60 7-inch long teeth. Its teeth were thick and slightly curved. Plus, each tooth had sharp, jagged edges like a steak knife. When a T-Rex closed its jaws, its upper and lower teeth locked like fingers lacing together. Scientists also believe this dino's jaw muscles slammed its mouth shut with bone-busting force. That's probably why scientists have found bones from other dinosaurs with T-Rex bite marks. T-Rex broke and lost teeth when it bit into bones, but fossils, preserved remains, of its jawbones show that this dino was always developing replacement teeth. If you had Tyrannosaurus rex's teeth, you'd never need a knife to cut up your food. What if you had Velociraptor toes? A velociraptor's sickle-tipped toes, the second toe on each hind foot, were just what this meat-eating dinosaur needed to grab dinner. A velociraptor was rather small, probably only 6 to 7 feet long from its nose to the tip of its tail. Its skeleton shows it ran like a bird on short hind legs with big feet, holding its sharp toes off the ground. Scientists think this dino sneaked close to its prey, leaped, and put those sickle-tipped toes to work. Then dinner was served. A velociraptor had perfect eating teeth, pointy and sharp-tipped with a steak knife-like jagged inner edge. If you had a velociraptor's sickle-tipped toes, you could open presents in a flash. What if you had Stegosaurus tail? A stegosaurus was a giant plant eater with a built-in defense, a spiked tail. Each side of its tail tip had a pair of nearly 2-foot long spikes. Because a stegosaurus's tail was made up of around 45 to 49 different tail bones, scientists think it could easily swing its tail side to side and maybe even up and down. Wham! A spiked tail slap was sure to back off an enemy. A stegosaurus had thin, flat plates sticking out of its back. Scientists believe they were most likely to show off and win a mate. If you had a stegosaurus's spiked tail, you'd always be ready to toast marshmallows by the campfire. What if you had a Parasaurolophus crest? Parasaurolophus had an amazingly long crest on top of its head. Some crests were as long as 5 feet. X rays and CT scans of fossil skulls have shown scientists this crest was full of the dinosaur's breathing tubes. These tubes stretched to the end of the crest and back again before going down its throat. Scientists tried blowing air through model crests to figure out what this dino might have sounded like. They learned that the length of the crest affected the sound it made, giving each Parasaurolophus its own voice. Scientists believe the size and shape of Parasaurolophus's ear bones mean that this dino was best at hearing deep sounds that carried over long distances. If you had a Parasaurolophus's head crest, you could lead the school marching band. What if you had an ankylosaurus body? An ankylosaurus was a tank of a dinosaur with a full coat of body armor. That armor was made up of rows of bone plates within its skin. Scientists have discovered many similar kinds of dinosaurs, which they have grouped together as ankylosaurs. Some of these dinos had flat bone plates for their armor. Others had plates with spines or spikes. At least one kind of ankylosaur even had armored eyelids, but all of them topped off their protective armor with a bony helmet-like skull. Some kinds of ankylosaurus had a built-in weapon, a stiff tail tipped with a club made of 3 or 4 fused armor plates. If you had an ankylosaurus's body armor, you'd be your hockey team's MVP. What if you had a Brachiosaurus neck? Brachiosaurus was a plant eater with a long neck perfect for munching treetops. Its neck was nearly 30 feet long, which let it reach as high as a 3-story building. This dino's 13 huge neck bones were full of holes so that its long neck was light enough to lift. Since its teeth weren't very good for chewing, its gut had to do all the digesting once it swallowed, and what a long swallow it had. This dinosaur was named Brachiosaurus because its front legs are longer than its back legs. Brachiosaurus means arm reptile in Greek. If you had a Brachiosaurus's neck, you could easily see over everyone's heads at the movies. What if you had Therizinosaurus hands? Therizinosaurus had front limbs that were tipped with nearly 2 foot long claws. At first, scientists thought those long claws meant this dinosaur was a hunter. But after studying fossils, scientists learned Therizinosaurus's claws were thin, probably not good for catching prey. Plus, this dino had a plant eater's beak and only teeny tiny teeth. Now, scientists believe Therizinosaurus was a plant eater that used its giant claws to bring leafy branches close enough to grab a mouthful. Because Therizinosaurus had such small teeth, scientists believe it also swallowed stones to help its belly mash up every leafy mouthful. If you had Therizinosaurus's claws, you would make the best hedge sculptures. What if you had an Edmontosaurus mouth? Edmontosaurus's shovel-shaped jaws made its mouth perfect for scooping up shrubby plants. As its jaw muscles pulled its mouth closed, the hard beak at the front snipped off each bite. Next, muscles moved this dinosaur's big jaws to crush its food between bunches of small teeth, almost 700 total, packed so closely together they acted like giant molars. Scientists believe this dino wasn't picky and ate whatever it could scoop up: leaves, berries, seeds, and even little shellfish. Rare rocks that formed from mud where an Edmontosaurus once lay show that its body was covered with small, six-sided scales like hexagons. If you had an Edmontosaurus's shovel-shaped jaws, you would win every food-eating contest. What if you had Triceratops horns? Triceratops' giant skull was armed with 3 horns. An adult's nose horn was about a foot long, but the 2 brow horns, one above each eye, poked out about 3 feet. Behind those horns, its head and neck were shielded by a helmet like frill. Scientists think being armed and armored let this dino put up a good fight if a meat eater attacked. But scratches found on Triceratops' horns may also mean this dinosaur clashed horns in battles for mates. A Triceratops' brow horns showed its age. Babies had nubs, teenagers had horns that curved up, and adults had very long horns that aimed forward. If you had a Triceratops' horns, you could carry all of the groceries in one trip. What if you had Dilophosaurus legs? Dilophosaurus was an 8 foot tall dino with long hind legs. Scientists studying its skeleton have found lots of places where big muscles attach to its hind legs. This is proof this dino was fast. Its footprints also show that Dilophosaurus stepped on just 3 toes in a footpad, so it was probably light enough on its feet to make quick turns and big leaps. Since it had sharp meat eater teeth, Dilophosaurus probably chased down fast food. Scientists think Dilophosaurus's bony head crests help this dinosaur spot more of its kind. If you had Dilophosaurus's hind legs, you would be a star dancer. What if you had a Spinosaurus sail? Spinosaurus had a giant sail on its back. This was made of skin coated with keratin, the same tough stuff human fingernails are made of, and held up by 6 foot long spines. This dino's skeleton shows its backbones were locked together. Scientists believe that kept its sail upright and always fully spread open, all the better to show off. This giant sail was sure to catch a future mate's eye, and it maybe made Spinosaurus look too big for other dinosaurs to attack. Spinosaurus's broad back feet, long toes, and flattened toe claws probably kept it from sinking into the mud while hunting for shallow water meal. If you had a Spinosaurus sail, you'd be a champion windsurfer. Dinosaur parts could be cool for a while, but you don't need a 30-foot long neck to reach your food or a super strong bite to eat it. Your voice sounds just fine without a long head crest to fine tune it, and you don't need a giant sail to be noticed. But if you could keep any dinosaur part for more than a day, what kind would be right for you? Luckily, you don't have to choose. You aren't living long ago in the age of dinosaurs, you're living now. All of your parts are people parts. They are exactly what you need to be the one and only you. Thanks for reading.